Serious, would you reduce your meat consumption if lab-grown meat or meat alternatives were cheaper and tasted good? Why or why not? If lab-grown meat is safe, cheap, and tastes good, then I don't care. Nom nom #X200B, edit, whoa. Thanks for the silver. This is my first ever Reddit, anything. I'm so honored. If I can't tell the difference, get same protein value, yes. Sure. If it's cheaper, I'll use it wherever texture permits, especially if it means no more dealing with bones, gristle and gross tubey things. Sure, because they're cheaper and tasted good, I'm going to assume that they're made of something natural as well, because I lived through margarine, and that was not healthy in addition to tasting like greasy shit. #X200B, but the other day I ate a thing called I can't believe it's not General Tao. I could believe it was not General Tao, though I had a hard time believing it wasn't chunks of tofu. We're a long way from eating your tasted good condition, is what I'm saying. As long as the texture was close to that of actual meat, sure. I don't eat meat because I wanted to consume the flesh of formerly living animals. I do it because I much prefer meat to the non-meat options for getting the same nutrients and whatnot. If the lab-grown meat gets as cheap, and tasty, as the critter-grown meat, I see no reason not to eat it instead. Plus, it's probably less harmful to the environment than livestock farming, at a guess. I haven't really looked into its environmental impact yet. Absolutely. I tried the Impossible Burger last month and it was freaking delicious. Do you mean, would I reduce my real meat consumption if lab-grown meat was cheap and tasted good? Because, yes I would. I feel strongly that meat is really quite bad for the environment, and if we could reduce the effect that it has by replacing it with more environmentally friendly, cheaper replicas, I would do that in a second. Few thoughts after reading through the comments. Definitely would try it if it is indistinguishable. People are saying lab-grown meat is not the correct term. Could someone explain? Lab-grown meat sounds off-putting to many, I believe. I see arguments against meat eaters due to cows farting being bad for the environment. I saw a couple people call others idiots for not knowing this. I definitely do not think this is a well-known fact, so don't berate people from being skeptical. It does kind of seem like it could be made up, lol. Yay, sure. Honestly, I wonder most what would happen if the meat industry's subsidies were ended, or drastically reduced. Having beef be as cheap as it is, cannot reflect the amount of time put into making it. Yes, if they are as healthy or healthier. I don't have any intrinsic desire to kill animals. I'm vegan. Price and taste are not the only things to be taken into account when talking about food, but if the nutritious value of lab-grown meat is the same, or better, than regular meat, then I don't see why I should not buy and eat lab-grown meat. I am assuming that the environmental impact of growing meat in an industrial lab is much less than the impact that current meat industry has on the environment. If I can't tell the difference between real meat, of course. I love meat. If it's created by cloning, it's still meat. We just have to be careful about illnesses if the meat we get is genetically similar. Duck, yes. Our mass consumption and torture of animals is fucked. Moral stuff aside, if it's cheaper, I see it becoming a thing where real meat is seen as a luxury item, like we do now with fine cuts of steak, or wild-caught versus farm-raised. If this becomes a thing, I can imagine how excited the Chinese will be when they can start killing us with their fake meats. As long as the carbon footprint is actually lower and the meat is affordable, then absolutely. No, I'd probably raise my meat consumption, buying the lab meats. If they're cheaper, taste good and have the same nutrition, then I may as well eat more, right? It even removes the guilt over supporting factory farming. Lab meat is still meat, so no. I would probably eat more cheap lab meat. Hell yes. Especially if we can pick our flavors. I'd never kill an elephant to try its meat, but if you'll brew it in a lab, I'd give her a go. Invite everyone over for a T-Rex barbecue when we get that far. Yeah? Why wouldn't I? It's just a food, I don't really care where it comes from as long as it gets to my mouth. Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's biologically and chemically still meat. The disgust or trepidation people feel stems almost entirely from skepticism of new things and change. Factory farming is the most environmentally damaging development of the modern age through habitat destruction, water consumption, and greenhouse gas emissions. Not to mention the horrific abuse and neglect faced by the animals. It's absolutely inhumane and, in my opinion, the most unethical accepted practice in contemporary times. I'm continually shocked by how relatively little objection there is to it. Lab-grown meat would be a safe alternative that doesn't require becoming vegetarian, which I still believe is healthy anyway, but I recognize is not gonna happen anytime soon. Definitely would, yes. Because. Why not? If it tastes good, isn't harmful and is reasonable priced, cheaper even, then there's no reason not to, in my opinion. Yes. I would definitely eat the alternatives. We have genetically modified food to make it better, and that's sort of like it. As long as the alternatives are safe, why eat the more expensive regular kind? It's not gonna hurt me. It will help my budget. Sure, as long as it was proven to be safe and the price point and nutritional value was similar or superior to real meat. Really, you can survive on whey and multivitamins, it's just not really enjoyable. Throw in nutritional value and no risk, I'll even settle for extremely low risk, for side effects, then yes I would. More money in my pocket. This seems like a pretty obviously biased question. Why would anyone say no if the alternatives were cheaper and tasted the same? Those are the sole reasons most people don't choose alternatives, because that's not the reality. So this question is super pointless emo. Yes, definitely. I am not a vegetarian vegan, but I agree that the meat industry is both a problem for the environment and cruel. My current approach is mostly that we should regulate it, make sure that animals don't suffer and live happy and healthy. But from a moral standpoint I'm not sure that alone would fix it. Lab-grown meat would allow us to have meat without hurting animals, and the environmental impact would be way less. So yes, without a doubt. Yes. Sorry Margaret Atwood. We need to evolve as a species, and I think that involves limiting our consumption of other living creatures. If we could produce a delicious substitute, then I think we would all be better for it. Yes. For me I see meat as part of a satiating meal which includes something along the lines of carb plus veg plus protein, and I so often get that protein from meat I think of the idea of not eating meat. I just feel like I have to eat more of the same and end up getting less nutrition as a result. If meat alternatives which were high in protein, ideally lean and easy to cook were readily available I'd pick it often, but I just don't see it where I am to sustainably live without it. Hey, if it tastes like a delicious steak, cooks like a delicious steak, smells like a delicious steak, feels like a delicious steak, it's practically a delicious steak. In all seriousness though, I don't care where my meat comes from as long as it's tasty and clean in every way possible. That's probably 70% of the population's feelings, too. If it's good for the environment, cheaper for me and tastes good, those are only more reasons to like it. I don't see the point in people not at least considering the possibility. Meat alternatives right now taste fine and are of comparable price. 100% I would. And why not? I've been waiting for this since Star Trek. Not to mention the health and environmental benefits. However, I would occasionally like to eat the real stuff. I'd probably say something like let's eat the real version today. If it's a viable alternative, I may increase consumption. Only if it is indistinguishable from real meat. I'm more impartial to the nutritional value. I want it to give me the benefits of eating meat. Assuming they were also safe to eat, sure, why not? I generally buy the cheapest meats currently accepted. Makes me feel a bit guilty because of the poor animal treatment for cheap meat, so I reluctantly buy slightly more expensive. If there was something even cheaper and guilt-free and it tasted good, there's no way I wouldn't go for it.